weeks.
2 weeks only?
I think it's 2 weeks. Yeah.
2 weeks. Okay, good. So Happy New Year. May Lord Krishna, Shri Radha Krishna bless you.
Yeah, we need all the blessing.
Blessings and kripa. Yeah. To at least keep up our goal clear, despite the numerous vicissitudes. We say vicissitudes. It's a French word, actually. Vicissitudes.
Yeah.
We are being always
Just around.
tempted, tossed around, and tempted.
Right.
And even as devotees, it's hard to keep the goal. Of course, and Maya is the world, Kali Yuga is progressing, is marching on. So it takes great determination, Vridavrata, to stick it out. And this is like Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to say, it's you don't draw a conclusion too hastily. You wait until your deathbed. The deathbed. Then you can draw a conclusion. Did I make the right decision way back when I was 20, 25? It takes a lifetime to see clearly if we have progressed, if we can remember Krishna. Okay, so what did you guys discuss last time with Sandra?
Yeah.
We read chapter 3 yesterday.
Okay, it was yesterday. You're right. It's okay. So it's fresh then.
Yeah. So we basically were discussing on the eligibility of the candidate for accepting devotional service. So we
Okay.
discussed about 3 kinds of devotees, like neophyte, madhyama, then even uttamadhikari, the pure devotees.
Okay.
We discussed about the like first class, second class, and third class, like that. And
Okay.
then there were some examples that were given of various from Bhagavatam. Various verses have been referenced were there, to establish each and every category. And then we also discussed about like 4 kinds of devotees which are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Under first class, under the third class devotee. I mean the neophyte devotee.
Yeah, you mean
And
the
then,
Sukritina of Shatu Vidam
Yeah.
Bhajantemam, 716?
yes.
Okay.
And then we even discussed about for accepting devotional service, we shouldn't even consider mukti, like liberation is also insignificant.
Yeah.
So a lot of other verses have been quoted by Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada Goswami, in the latest section from Bhagavatam, that devotee don't even consider liberation as a worthy goal. So we discussed on that, and that's how we ended yesterday, chapter 3.
Okay, that's very good. So it's fresh, huh? There's a verse, it reminds me of a verse, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami. Not this one, actually. That's a CC. Thinking of another one from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Bhukti Mukti Sprihayavat. You know this verse, Vignesh?
Yeah.
Bhukti Mukti Sprihayavat. Pisachiri Vartate. Beautiful verse. Really means the heart. As long as those two Pisachi, Bhukti and Mukti, Spriha. Spriha means desires. As long as we have desires for those two, Pisachi. Tavad Bhakti Sukhasyatra, sorry. Bhavad Bhakti Sukhasyatra. How do you want Bhakti Sukh to settle in the heart? You know what I'm saying? Katam Anujaya Bhavet. There cannot be any Bhakti Sukh awakening. Just like if you bring a woman in your house and there's already 2 women there, it's not going to work, So in the same way, those 2 ladies are Bhukti Mukti. They're Pisachi, actually. There's no question of Tavat Bhakti Sukhasyatra. There's no question of Bhakti Sukh unless those two girls are gone. You follow?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a fact. Rupa Goswami is reminding us. So that is why, it's such an important topic. It's going to overlap into the fourth chapter. It's not, the discussion is not over. That is why Srila Rupa Goswami, Srila Prabhupada, and Danoda Maharaj also, they carry on discussing. Because, the tendency, why is it so much stress by Rupa Goswami? What do you think? Why? Because we could say, well, okay, I got the point. Next point. What do you think? Why do you think it's so much stress?
As per my understanding, two things like bhakti and mukti. Like in one sense, we can understand about bhakti because
that's clear.
That's very much clear. I understood, like in spiritual life, you cannot bring materialistic things into it. But what is not clear for most of the even devotees is that about mukti. Like we sometimes get so much stressed out in material life that we just want mukti. I just want to free myself. No, and that is very common. Even devotees, in other sampradayas, I have seen that they are looking for mukti. Kind of. They just want to free themselves from this material world. So the stress is on freeing themselves from the material world rather than serving the Lord. So the aspect of service is something which is very crucial to bhakti, which Prabhupada has emphasized in many times, is somewhere missing. That selfless mood is somewhere missing, because immediately the selfishness comes when we talk about mukti, which is very antagonistic to bhakti, I would say.
Bhukti mukti siddhi kami sakali ashanta, Krishna bhaktam nishkam aitaeva shant. And they always have an axe to grind, as we say. And 410, remember 410, Srila Prabhupada explained, 410 is, my dear Arjun, it's not the first time. So many people before you have taken up this path. But what is it? Madbhava magataha. They also attain my nature, nothing new. So if you read that purport 410, Srila Prabhupada says there's three things we should be very, very much wary of in spiritual life. Negligence, of course, that's quite straightforward. Negligence of spiritual life. And then the second one is more subtle. The tendency the idea to retain a spiritual identity even after death is quite frightening for many. If you like you say, Vignesh, already they are fed up with material life, and they are considering, well, it's due to my existing in this material world, so I don't want to exist anymore. So now you come as a Gaudiya and tell him, look, you're going to retain your spiritual identity. No way, forget it. That's frightening. And Prabhupada says in 410, it's one of the dangers of within the practitioner in his practice of bhakti, that we have to be wary of those three things. Negligence of spiritual life, and number two, fear of retaining a spiritual identity after death. And number three, the conception of void. That's pertaining to our topic at hand also. Why is that? Because it's arising from frustration in material life. Like you said, I'm fed up. I married 3 times. It didn't work. Fed up. I gave my life to my children, to my friends, to my wife. No one gives a damn. I'm fed up. Let me get out of here. But the thing is, that conception of void is very much on the forefront of material life, because people are fed up, arising to frustration in material life. So no wonder they are attracted. So that is why Rupa Goswami is hammering the point home. And if, of course, Srila Prabhupada is echoing to that. You follow, Goloka? He's gone with the wind. Goloka?
Haribo, sorry. I
Did,
just-
did you
yes,
follow?
I'm following. I'm following. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You can
And-
add up thing. I know you have lots of
and-
realization.
Yeah, and one thing that I remember in one song of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in the song Manasa Deha Giho Yogi Chimor, there's one verse there. He said, Bhukti Mukti Spriha.
This is the verse
Then he
I
asked,
quoted.
I don't want Bhukti, I don't want Mukti.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to take birth.
They are
You know.
Pisachi. Yeah, they are Pisachi.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the thing.
Even like there are many songs composed by various devotees, like not at least in Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but I've seen in many other sampradayas.
Yeah.
They also have echo the same thing. They just lift me up, save me from the cycle of birth and death, and let me not again fall in the cycle of birth and death. Somewhere also there is some kind of tinge of this mukti element which is there.
It's very much encroached upon the psyche of the living entity.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's yes, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Actually, it is bhakti, mukti, and devotional service is stressed out because Krishna knows devotional service gives the highest pleasure. So why go for this bhakti and mukti?
Yeah. Remember Bivan Mangal Thakur? We're going to quote, there's lots of quotes we have seen, chapter 4. What comes to mind is Bivan Mangal Thakur. You know him? Goloka, you know him? Leela
Yeah,
Shuk?
yeah, I know, yeah.
Before his name was Leela Shuk.
Yeah.
And there's one brother of mine, he took sannyasi. Before his name was Leela Shuk. But now he's Bhakti Prabhav Maharaj, I think. Yeah. So Leela Shuk is very interesting because even though he had a bad start, if I may say, he is attached to a prostitute called Chintamani. To make a long story short, he lived it's mentioned, he lived 6-7 centuries, this person. He starts from all the way back from Shankar. Very rich father, then he got enamored by this girl, so much so that he even kind of neglected his father's funeral rites. You know the long story. Then enamored by this girl, then he plucked his eyes out. Can you imagine? On the way to Vrindavan. And then finally he made it to Vrindavan. He was blind and meditating on Lord Krishna. And finally, you know the story, Lord Krishna himself used to come. He wrote a book. Mahaprabhu was very fond of that book. What is it called, Vignesh? Krishna Kanamrit. Krishna Kanamrit. Mahaprabhu used to read. So, another great poet. Forgetting. He used to read from Bimamangal Thakur, Chandidas. Yeah, he used to read from Chandidas. He was very fond of Chandidas and Bimamangal Thakur.
Can you, Chandidas? Can you talk a little bit? I heard of Chandidas, but
I have to make before I speak. I have to make a research. Chandidas.
Yeah.
Off my hat, I wouldn't mind searching, but I don't know much about Chandidas. Bimamangal Thakur. So then the Lord himself would come and hear his beautiful prayers. He's a Matpara Bhakta, just like Maraham Barish. Is mentioned by Rupa Goswami as the epitome of Bhav Bhakti. And then Bimamangal, you try to grab the Lord. He's blind, but he's trying. He knows is so far. And Gopal is stepping back, but he said, "You can run away, but you cannot run away from my heart." And it's mentioned Bhukti Devi herself used to come to tap on the door of his hut. Can I render service? He said, "No, I'm fine." So anyway, we can go through a few verses. There's a verse here, 420. 420, what is it? Ritu Maharaj, 420 something. 420, 24. My dear Lord, I therefore don't wish to have the benediction of merging into your existence, a benediction in which there's no existence of the nectarine beverage of your lotus feet. I want the benediction of at least 1 million ears, for thus I may be able to hear about the glories of your lotus feet from the mouth of pure devotees. So they are relinquishing. What to speak of, this is Sayuja Mukti, this is Naraki. But even we know, 29:13 in Bhagavatam, even Kapil is telling, even the pure devotee rejects the Vimukti, the Vaishnava Vimukti. Sayuja, Shrishti, Samipya, Shashti. What to speak of Kevalya? Kevalyapati is the name of Lord Krishna. Kevalyapati means he is the Lord of Kevalya Mukti. Sayuja Mukti. So, yeah, here Srila Prabhupada quotes, I mean, of course, it's Rupa Goswami in the first place. He quotes so many verses are cited. I quoted here, cited. Shukdev speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, 5:14:44. Talking about Bharat Maharaj. Even Bharat Maharaj refused the gift that Mahalakshmi would give him. That's more having to do with bhakti here. He relinquished everything. Then Shukdev again, Bharat Maharaj. Totally, he brushed away in one stroke bhakti. What to speak of Bhog? What to speak of? Just like, remember that verse, Neshkamya apyachuta bhavavarjitam nashobate gyanamalam minanjanam. You know that verse, Vignesh? 1:5:12, Narad is telling. So, even Neshkamya means self-realization, totally nishkam, depossessed. I mean, you are totally freed from the reactions of the fruit. Nishkamya, self-realized, Brahmabhut, Atmabhut. Nashobate, if it is devoid of Achyutabhav, it's Nashobate, it doesn't look good. And then he goes, what to speak of transient material desires? If already Nishkamya, self-realization doesn't look good, what to speak of temporary, transient material desires? So you can see, it's like a gadget. Sometimes my boy, he always wants gadget, walkie-talkie, please, I want this, these are gadgets. And then after 1 week, he put it in his chest. He's got a big chest, and then he doesn't touch it for years. So it is the same stuff, Just like Chintamani, remember Sanatana Goswami, that philosophical stone that please throw it first, my dear friend. Then I can give you something higher. It's mentioned that stone is still there in Prem Sarovar. It says that the Prem Sarovar is 40 elephants deep. You know that? 40 elephants deep. The size, the depth of it. It's mentioned that Sanatan threw that Chintamani stone there. So someone should go scuba diving, searching for it. Vitrasu, same story. Vitrasu, what Vishwanath says on Vitrasu? He says is one of the most advanced bhakta in the Srimad Bhagavatam. You know that? One of the most, after the gopis, he says. After the gopis is one of the most advanced bhakta. Why? Do you know why? Vitrasu? Who was Vitrasu in the previous life? Sixth canto.
Forgot.
Chitraketu. He had been cursed. Remember, he was Vijayadharapati, going around with the girls in the Viman. Then,
Chitraketu.
yeah, and then he came over, Lord Shiv and Parvati. Lord Shiv is discoursing to the sages, and Parvati is sitting on his lap, you know. So it doesn't look good, apparently. So, but Vijayadharapati was just joking because they are friends, you know. He's very advanced soul, Vijayadharapati. He joked, but she took it very badly. And then Narayana Parayana, that verse, Bibarta. My dear Devi, you have no idea. Narayana Parayana, you have no idea of the utmost advancement of these devotees. Nasvarga Apavagasya. They may be in Narak, they may be in heaven, they may be liberated. It's all the same for them. Then she felt ashamed, even Durga felt ashamed. But he took it very slightly. Okay, so Tatastu, so be it. He became Vitrasu. Vitrasu is so big. Just with his trampling demigods just by walking. He's not trampling humans, he's trampling demigods. Just imagine his size. And remember, Indradevi, he had to approach Dadichi to get the bones of Dadichi, to make up for the Brajra weapon. And only Dadichi very easily relinquished his body. Please take it, no problem. Then he made that very powerful weapon, and he was meant to kill him on the battlefield, to kill Vitrasu. Vitrasu was, remember those players of Vitrasu in the 6 cantos? Can you imagine? He's praying to the Lord on the battlefield, waiting for Indradev. My dear Lord, I'm just like a woman who has been waiting for the traveling husband who's gone for years. When is he going to come back? My hairs are disheveled. I cannot eat. When will he come back? Give life to my body. When will you come? I'm like a baby bird in the nest. When will the parents come and feed me? Indradev can hear the prayers. And he knows I'm meant to kill that person. It's mentioned there. Indradev realized this person is millions of times more Krishna conscious than me. I am meant to kill him. So Vitrasu is just poking Indradev. When are you going to kill me? What's wrong with you? You got the weapon, you got everything. And it's mentioned there, 6:11:25. I'm not interested, just like Mahaprabhu. You know, Nadananda Jananda Sundarim. Nothing, I'm interested by nothing. Mystic yoga, liberation, moksha. I just want to live next to you. Then remember, next life he became, actually, before even Indradev killed him, he was already gone, just like Maharaj Parikshit. Maharaj Parikshit was already gone before Taksha beat him. You know that? And he was already gone. It took Indradev 1 year to separate his head from the body. So much is big, so much is powerful. It took him 1 year as a demigod to already he was gone. He was gone back to Krishna. Actually, he's gone back to Shankarshan Lok. He was not into Golok. So, you know, there's so many verses, 6, 17, 28. This is the one, Narayana Parayana. Indradev to DT. So everyone is acknowledging that. Indra, Prahlad. There's no question. It doesn't tally. It's not on the same level. Can you quote a few verses, Vignesh, that acknowledge that bhakti is a byproduct of bhakti. Even Goloka, you can say in English if you want. Let's say I'm someone who is a stalwart mukti, mumukshu. I'm a mumukshubi. I'm a very fervent, ardent propaganda. My propaganda is mukti. I want to promote this. This is my mumukshu. I'm a mumukshubi. I'm a propagandist. How do you say? I'm a advocate of mukti. So you please convince me. That's a nice debate. Yeah, there's so many quotes here. The whole chapter 4 is so simple. It's just quote after quote. You know, nothing new. So try to do the job.
I remember
Krishna said only by devotional service you can.
What is the verse?
Bhaktya mam abhajanati. And then I don't remember the rest.
Yeah.
You know.
How many, did you already, you recited me all your shlokas?
I recite.
Did you recite, Vignesh, your slok?
I'm due, Prabhu. I will be doing it, I think, maybe tomorrow, or latest by day tomorrow.
Try to do it in this life. So, yeah, you quoted me that verse long back. How come you don't retain it? Bhaktimam abhijanati, then? Yavan yashasmi tatvataha. Tatuvam tatavu. What does it go? Tatuvam tatvatu yadva vishate todanantaram. Anantaram vishate. You enter. It's part of the package, you know, it's a byproduct. It's a byproduct. It's part of the package. Anything else you want to share? Let's say you want to convince me. What would you say? You can quote one of those quotes from the 4th chapter, or your own good sense, or you can paraphrase also some points of Srila Prabhupada.
I think there are many statements from Vedic scriptures which establish this point that devotional service bhakti is even higher than bhukti and mukti. I remember one incident mentioned in Bhagavad Mahatmya, the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, where when Bhakti Devi, there is personification of Devi becomes disappointed because of no people taking up bhakti in this age of Kali Yuga. Then there is mentioned that the bhakti and the mukti both are like servants, dasis of bhakti. So wherever bhakti goes, mukti and bhakti will automatically follow without even a devotee wanting it. Like servants in the.
Exactly. If you have the queen mother and the king, the servants are follow along. What is that verse, Vignesh? It says in Sanskrit actually, Muktya Lila. You know that verse? It's spoken by Bhivan Mangal Thakur actually. Muktya Lila, it says bhakti is subservient.
Yeah.
There's a verse.
Anjali,
yeah,
Anjali.
Go ahead. Yeah, where is that?
I don't remember. I just heard it. I think it is there.
Isn't that Lila Shuk?
Yeah. I think it is there in the chapter 3, I suppose. We just read it yesterday.
Oh, you read it? Okay, so you all said. Okay. So, yeah, basically it's quite straightforward and it's one quote after the other.
Yeah.
Then Gajendra Mokshan, 8th canto, this is the same story again.
Even another point, I think it is mentioned, I think Prabhupada quotes a verse from Adi Sankaracharya, where he says that even the muktas take a form so that they can engage in service.
Yeah, exactly.
So that basically indicates that even bhakti is higher than mukti.
Yeah.
Another could be, I think, the verse from Bhagavad Gita itself, and Krishna says that like there are many people, or thousands of people, only some
Manusyanam Sahasreshu Kashita
Manchulam
Tatesida,
Sahasreshu.
7-3.
Yeah, so only few people aspire for attaining Siddhi, that is Mukti. And even those people who attain Mukti, I'm equating that Siddhanam with the Mukti. Even those people, hardly few people are there from those set of Muktas who attain Bhakti for Lord Krishna. So that it indicates that Bhakti is still higher than Mukti.
Exactly. It reminds me also when Durvas Muni goes back to Vaikunt, he's being chased by the Sudarshan, remember?
Yeah.
And then he goes, actually the Lord is speaking that, but Matsevaya Pratitamte. There's a verse like that. Matsevaya Pratitamte Salokyadi. Yes, Salokyadi Shatushtayam. That's the verse. Then he goes, this is exactly the same point that we are discussing here. They are satisfied, my devotees, my dear Durvasamuni, are satisfied. Why? Because they engage in loving service to me. Those are not interested. What to speak of Sayuja? They're not interested in Salokya, in Vimukti. Mukti Ridvaratarupam Svarupena Vivastiti, 210.6. Shukdev is saying, this is real Vimukti. Once you are rid of the gross and subtle bodies. But even that, 329.13, they're not interested. Salokya, Sarupya. It's automatically achieved. It's part of the package. What to speak of going to Swagalok? What to speak of petty, gross material desires? And then, of course, it echoes Bivan Mangal Thakur. Mukti Svayam, Vignesh, Mukti Svayam, Mukti Svayam, it's close, it's on the tip of my tongue. Mukti Svayam, Mukali Tanjali, something like that.
Mukti Swayam Mukutanjali Sevata Asman.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Because the epitome of, the devotee per excellence, I would say, that rejected Mukti is Biva Mangal Thakur. She used to come on the doors, knocking on the door. Dharmatal come, remember? Dharmata come, Kataya Samaya. Something, yeah? In other words, she's coming. She's coming. With folded hands, please engage me. Just like I remember, what's his name? From Mayapur. I used to do seva under him in 97. I was trained to worship the deities on the left, the gopis on the left side. Jananivas. He used to tell us, because in the morning we sing, "Oh my dear Guru, I want to be liberated. I want to serve you life after life." So I was asking him, okay, so that's very Krishna conscious, that's very high. But elsewhere it's mentioned, it's very healthy to leave this world also. We cannot deny, Prabhupada saying it's very healthy. Go back to this, don't linger. It's not a place for gentlemen, blah, blah, blah. We know.
One thing also he said, Lord Chaitanya also he said, it doesn't need in saying Nadanam Najanam na Sundarim. Kavitam Jagadisa Kamai Mama Janmi Sorry Bhavatar Bhakti Oi Tukitwai.
Yeah.
He prayed that, I don't want Nadanam, no wealth, Najanam, new beautiful woman, Sundarim.
Yeah.
Kavitam. I don't want the number of followers. I just need your cause of devotional service, years of birth after birth.
Yeah.
I think that's the point. Like, as Acharya say that Mukti is a servant. It's not that devotee don't get a Mukti. They automatically get a Mukti. It's just that the mood of a devotee is not to get Mukti.
Yeah.
Like, just because I'm saying that a birth after birth, give me service to you, doesn't mean that Krishna will say, okay, then stay in the material world. Right? But the mood is not, but mood of a devotee is of humility.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they will get mukti as a byproduct. They will go back to spiritual world. In that sense, it is a mukti.
Yeah. So my question remained. I remember asking this question to Jananivas long back. I told him, okay, so there's two. It looks like there's a dichotomy. On one side, we hear life after life. Then I told him, yes, but at the same time, we're here. Prabhupada said, don't linger, don't stay. It's not a place for gentlemen. Leave the place. It's getting worse. And we can see it's getting worse. So I was asking him, how to draw the line. Then he told me, Jananivas is outwardly devotee. It's not from this world. Prabhupada said, those two brothers, one is gone, have no material desire. So you can well imagine their level. Jananivas told us, once you have realized then that you are liberated, then you can go back. As long as you haven't realized you are liberated already, then it's very healthy to want to live, to go back. But at one point you will realize you are already liberated. So then you can genuinely claim, yes, my dear Guru, I want to go back. Because elsewhere it's mentioned, Prabhupada said, don't force me to come back to pick you up. It's mentioned oftentimes in the Shastra. Don't force me to come back to pick you up. Meaning, please go back. So both are there. So he answered beautifully. This is the line. Once you have understood, you are already liberated. Because meaning, once you are Jivan Mukta, basically, you are already liberated. You know the verse. It's a verse from Skanda Puran. If you worship by dint of words, heart, action, Ramana Manasa Gira. Gira, your speech, your manasa, your action, you're already liberated. But of course, it's easy to say, but you have to realize it. So Jananivas, I guess, was on that level, even in those days, 97. What to speak now? He was certainly already liberated in his life, in his body self, so it's a byproduct, but it's easy to say, but we have to realize it. Anyway, I think it's quite redundant. It's necessary to hear, because again, but I don't know about you. You can perhaps share, because we are all jivas here. For me, personally, I don't know about you, Goloka. You can share. I find it more difficult to let go of material desires than mukti. Because even though mukti is more lofty, I would say, than material desires, but personally, I don't have this craving, it's not something that encumbers my mind, I have to become liberated. I don't have this thing. But to let go of gross and material and subtle material desires altogether, I find it more difficult. So it's a trigger for perhaps a debate on that. I want to hear from you. How do you feel about it? Do you find it,
actually all these desires arise, it depends on your association, also on the environment, on the whom you're associating with, if you associate with the people who are not inclined toward bhakti, immediately your consciousness also change. Sometimes due to obligation to family members who are not really like practicing, you have to be there. You can see your consciousness is completely change, and you got affected by the mode of nature.
Exactly. So good. Very good point.
Yeah.
But are you bothered? You too? Are you bothered by this lingering for mukti? Is it still lingering in your mind, or?
Yeah, sometimes mukti in a way that I just want to go to Krishna's abode. That's my thinking of mukti. I want to get out of this material world and go to Krishna's abode.
I think it's healthy.
And I don't want to stay here, because here everything is so like, it's temporary and more distressful than happiness.
I know even devotees. I know one lady, she wants to die even. She's like, she's not welcoming death per se, but she's always, saying, well, I don't think I'm going to live long. And she's kind of welcoming that short life, even though she's a good devotee, I have to admit, but she has this, she's sick and tired, of the whole place. And that's very much occupying a mind, because she speaks a lot about that, I notice. It's one of my students, so, as you know, among students, we discuss about things. I can see it comes again and again. She's not old, but she's into that frame of mind, I don't think I'm going to live long. I have nothing to gain anymore. It's like
There's this kind of feeling come very often also, when things doesn't go right in this material world, when you see distresses, fighting and not getting along with other people.
Yeah.
You don't feel, this kind of thought always come. What am I doing here? I don't belong to this world.
Yeah, I think it's a good, again, I think it's healthy. What do you think, Vignesh? Do you find it healthy or detrimental? Or
yeah, I think there is always this kind of a spring, a tension between bhukti and mukti. As long as we are full with anarthas, or at least we have some trace of anarthas present.
Yeah.
For example, I remember sometimes when we get too much disturbed, we just want to just free ourselves from everything and want mukti, right? So I think our acharyas say it is like smashan vairagya. So sometimes we someone close person dies, we go to the smashan, the crematorium, we become very much sad. And after some days, again we start doing all the bhukti. So it's like that temporary vairagya that we have. But then since anarthas are there, again it will we'll go back to our normal routine. So I think there is a tension between bhakti and mukti as long as anarthas are present. If 100% anartha is not there, then I think the desire for mukti will also go, because then the selfless aspect of service to Krishna will rise, because there is some amount of selfishness still there. We just want to do it simultaneously, serve Krishna at the same time. We want to have something for us. I think that is.
Yeah. What I find it healthy, at least that's my style. It's not mukti. I don't entertain mukti, but I entertain the fact that I want, if possible, if Krishna wants it, grants it, at the end of my life, the fag end of my life, to be able to be released from all entanglement and just chant. I don't think it's mukti. It's more like, give me that last stretch alone, and I can catch up with you. I can finalize the transaction, not the transaction, finalize the contract towards my guru, towards, Srila Prabhupada. It's like I aspire for this patch of the fact. It's not mukti, but something like, I feel indebted, so I want to finalize the contract. I want to, because I feel I didn't fulfill fully the contract. So I aspire for that little portion of stretch, last stretch, I want to be alone as chant, so to make the full circle complete. That's a bit
actually, yes, your thought is very similar. Sometimes we just want to be left alone, just want to do our bhakti, not interfere with any other.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Even I think it's healthy also at one point to be. Even Vishwanath, I remember Vishwanath Chakravarti, he says at one point we should relinquish even the activity of teaching. Because, teaching, you could say, well, it's great, you Krishna Katha, you pass on the knowledge, Machita Magata Prana, Bodhayanta Parashparam, it's pure Krishna consciousness, no doubt. But Vishwanath, even that, you should relinquish. At one point, you just chant and reestablish your sambandha more and more. Get ready.
The
Yeah, I
mind
think
is so chanchal and flickering. Sometimes we feel like that. Sometimes, we forgot about it,
No,
We're
no,
not steady.
personally, it occupies my mind a lot, this thought, I would say. Of course, I'm not young, but, Krishna is in control. Huh? I think it's important to finish alone. Of course, you're never alone. Krishna is in your heart with devotees around, but to, tend to streamline everything, streamline the possession. Akinchana Gocha is mentioned in this. Queen Kunti says, Akinchana Gocha. Become a bit depossessed, I don't know, this is my projection.
I think I have read one poem by Srila Prabhupada, where it's a poem by Srila Prabhupada. He says that right now you have to preach, that is a method given by Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah.
No, when you are completely pure, like you can do Nirjana Bhajan. Nirjana means solitary, just do Nirjana Bhajan. But right now, even if you do Nirjana Bhajan, and even if you loudly chant, it will simply increase your bile secretion, but you will not get a drop of Krishna Prem even after millions of birth. That is a word that Prabhupada uses. It's very strong a statement that if you do Nirjana Bhajan prematurely, then,
when I say alone, I don't mean totally alone. I mean like find another devotee like me, like-minded devotee who has gone through the whole life and just share the room with. No, totally alone, I wouldn't like it, I have to admit. But like another guy with whom I get along very fine. We are on the same note. And it's important to be two. You're right. I agree.
I also find one dichotomy, like as you said, that sometimes we hear from our acharyas that especially Bhakti Siddhanta Thakura and then Srila Prabhupada, that our main thing is that when we are actually compassionate, we naturally want to share that compassion with others in the form of preaching. But a point comes in our life, perhaps where we just want to completely immerse ourselves in Leela Smaran of something of Lord Krishna, the divine pastimes, as we say, right? At that time, somewhere we don't want to preach. We just want to sit in one place and do 24 hours Smaran.
For me, it's more like catching up, on my connection with Krishna, my rounds, like definitely immerse myself into the chanting more. Because you know what it is like when you're a Grihastha, you chant, but up you're interrupted, you got to do this, then back to you, and again you're interrupted. It's you know what it is, Goloka.
I know very much.
So
I think
that's bothersome. That's cumbersome, I would say. Cumbersome.
As if like touching the surface of the water, but never getting the opportunity to dive deep, inside the water.
Prabhupada did say in one purport, practically the advancements for Grihastha is practically nil. Can you imagine? It's heavy. Huh? It's practically nil. Heavy. So, and I kind of agree. So, it's important, especially we've been married a long time to really turn the page, Everyone agrees, everyone is tuned up to your mood. Yes, Prabhu, I think it's high time for you now. You got the blessing of everyone. And then you just do it. And you may not die so early, actually. You may stay like this, 10 years, 20 years, who knows, and die at 110. But it doesn't matter.
Actually, Vignesh is quite young, didn't experience Grihastha life and all this stuff.
Yeah,
at certain point you feel like that. You want just be away from all this thing and just engage in a pure devotion, just devotional service. Always, with all the devotee, not alone.
Yeah.
It's like we want to dive deep, but somehow we end up, just surfing on the water. It's like that feeling. Sometimes it may come.
Grihastha is like that. It's hard to really be focused for a long time. By the very nature of the ashram is, and you have to assume your prescribed duty. You have to do your stuff, your duty. And even by absorbing yourself, you don't do it, you feel you don't do it properly, you know. Because there's a portion of us which is still impersonal. So it's connected with premature mukti, you know. Impersonal means, okay, I'm sick and tired, so let me just go. Just like Arjun, basically. So, but that's totally tinged with Sayuja, if you ask me. It's still impersonal. So when Prabhupada says, when we chant the pranam of Prabhupada, Nivashisha Shunyavadi, that applies to that portion of us, you know, of ours. We are still willing to retire prematurely, and even to let go of our desire, of our duties towards the son, towards the wife, you know, in the name of premature renunciation. So it's always not easy to balance it out properly, you know.
Actually, I heard one very nice lecture from one Mataji who was talking about, you know, like Krishna wants you to do your duty at the same time, think of him. He said, like if you go to the temple, it's very easy to remember Krishna, you know.
Yeah.
So Krishna will give you some mark, you know.
Yeah.
If you are in the middle of your grihastha, you have to go to work, you have to take care of your kid, you have to, you know, do so many things, earn and still think of Krishna. Krishna appreciates you better.
Yeah.
Because in the midst of all this, you know, you're still remembering him. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I agree. See, the best way to remember Krishna personally, that's what I do. I study and teach. So you're always discussing about Krishna, you know. That's a good thing about teaching, I have to admit. You're always sharing about Krishna. You know, so that's the great part of teaching. But it doesn't mean you can, you know, it doesn't mean you cannot go higher. Higher than that would be chanting a lot, you know, chanting a lot, assimilating. Just like Brihad Aranakopanishad, what are those 3 levels, Vignesh? Manasa. The first one is, I'm forgetting the Sanskrit, you know.
Manomaya?
No, it's a verse from Brihad Aranakopanishad. The second level is Manasa, and then I'm forgetting the Sanskrit. First, you have to hear, and then you have to assimilate, you know. And in the mind, you contemplate, and then you have to assimilate. So I guess chanting is good for that, because you just process. From Gyan, it becomes Vigyan, you know. Yeah. Anyway, I think it's high time we move to chapter 5. What do you think? Now, of course, it's quoting at the end of chapter 4, the Atmana verse. And that's another great quote to defeat Mukti, isn't it? What is it? Shibhagwan Uvach. Atmanavashamunayo nirgranta puyurukrame itam bhuta guno hari. I'm forgetting one line here. So even the Atmarama, Atmakam, they are self-contented. Still, itam bhuta guno hari, they are still attracted by the guna hari, the qualities of Hari. 4 Kumar, Shukdev. Chapter 5, is it okay with you? We move on?
Yes, bro.
Chapter 5. So what are we talking about here, chapter 5? Did you read that far? So chapter 5 is purity, the purity of devotional service. So we have discussed before, I remember you may have discussed with me or with Chandra, I don't know, that Tat Kama Pravartanat, the execution of bhakti has nothing to do with material criteria. Even you can be totally paralyzed from top to bottom and still practice. There's Chitralekha Saki. She used to be the boss of my wife. Now they moved to Australia, actually. She's totally paralyzed. Totally. From top to bottom. She can paint, you can imagine, she paints with her teeth like this. You should see the level of the paintings. So, and she's doing it out of love. She's an extremely powerful person, totally paralyzed. No material consideration. Like it's mentioned here by Srila Prabhupada and Dhanodhar Maharaj, Gyan Yoga, you need peaceful environment. We just finished the marathon. They were in Paris. They were in all the big cities of France, in a rat race, in the heart of the rat race. They're distributing books. This is not a Jnana Yoga environment. So you can see Bhakti prevails everything. Ashtanga Yoga, so many rigid guidelines have to be followed, prerequisites. Karma Kand, same story. You need your karmas, you have to do everything paka, the proper mantras, the proper priest, money is there, so much paraphernalia. External stuff, yagya, home, all these things, the Kaladeshapatra, the ingredients, the place, it's endless. So bhakti is you just sit and chant. This is the final word in spiritual life. Right? Even purity, even good birth. That is why Prabhupada is ahead of everyone, because he targeted the Videshi. He knows they are untouchables. Mlech, Shudra, not even Shudra, Mlech, Chandal, Yavan. There's still no good birth, nothing, no samskar, no Gabodan samskar, nothing. But you know the verse Shukdev is saying in the second canto, Prabhavishnave Namaha, even all these races, it's mentioned in Kars, Dabir, Yavan. There are different races, Turkeys, Yavan, Then you find those who have a long, thin mustache. It's mentioned there, the Chinese, the Mongolians, everyone is there in that verse. It's a prophetic verse, actually. It's written, can you imagine, way before China, even. Way before all the other countries. It's mentioned. Even they can make it. Prabhavishnavin, taking shelter of someone who was taking shelter of Vishnu. So there's no question of good birth, of, purity, etc. Vanashram Dharma. There was one devotee, I don't know if you remember, Goloka, he lived in Vrindavan. He was, at the end of his life, he was Sanskritist, can you imagine?
Yeah.
Kushakrat.
Gopiparanandana?
No. Kushakrat Prabhu. Gopiparanandana Prabhu also was a top Sanskritist. Kushakrat Prabhu. Kushakrat joined in Boston way back. Giraj Maharaj told us the story, very funny. Way back he joined 69 or something. And he was such a wretched fellow, he would sleep in the shoes. Can you imagine? Devotees, especially in those days, they just dump the shoes. And the shoes are scattered everywhere. It's like a heap of, of dirty stuff. Shoes. He was such a derelict. Purposefully, perhaps to annoy devotees or whatever, just to exhibit his tamagun, he would sleep in the shoes. Can you imagine? You have to be quite gone. And day after day. And so much so devotees, they consulted amongst themselves and no, we have to kick him out. There's no way. There's no way we can keep that guy. So then, of course, they were quite conscious of Prabhupada. At least we should double check, It's not proper. They did. Prabhupada told him, give him a last chance, another chance. He left the world, to make a long story short, 50 years later, he left the world. He was a Sanskritist. He was a Sanskrit poet. He would compose his own poems in Sanskrit. Kushakrat Prabhu. You can read his poems,
I heard of him, very.
Compendium of poems written by Kushakrat Prabhu. He used to compose in pure Sanskrit. As Dhanavya Maharaj, he was a good friend of Dhanavya Maharaj, I remember. He left in long back, perhaps. I was in Vrindavan in those days, 15 years easy. Can you imagine? What to speak of the original Adhikar, of his Adhikar when he died, totally disqualified. So has got no material cause. Aitukiya Pratyata. And of course, Srila Prabhupada is reminding us of the hard struggle of Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur against the Smarta Brahmins. And they killed Vaishnavism, actually. They killed Gaudiya Vaishnavism with this rampant 13 Apa Sampradaya. Now you've heard the Ball, Ganganagari. They have destroyed Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Between let's say, Baladev Vidyabhushan, after Baladev Vidyabhushan, all the way to Bhaktivinoda Thakur for at least, a good 50, 100 years, Gaudiya Vaishnavism became downtrodden. Just to hear that name, the intelligentsia will turn away. These are a bunch of renegades, Vishayi, because of this certain Apa Sampradaya. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's job was tremendous because he defended the cause by crushing those Apa Sampradayas. And of course, his task was uncompleted. He prayed for a successor, and he came in the form of Bhaktisiddhanta. So Srila Prabhupada explains here, hard struggle. Because this is the problem, they were trying to water down the purity of bhakti. This is so bad. There's a difference between being weak in Krishna consciousness and to dilute the philosophy. You follow the difference, Vignesh Prabhu?
Yeah,
there's a difference. What is the difference, Goloka? Being weak, you're weak spiritually, you have Hridaya Dobalya, you have weaknesses of heart, okay? But someone who dilute the philosophy, that's even way worse. Way. You cannot make it, just like, there's a fable in France, La Fontaine. The fox is trying to grab the grapes. It's too high. He cannot grab the grapes. Then he concludes, anyway, they are sour. They are sour. So you cannot make it in Krishna consciousness. Oh, they are sour. They're not right. He rationalizes. This is actually the Ritvik. Ritvik did that. It's mentioned actually in the third canto that you may not be on the level of Samadarshanat, which is the highest platform of devotional service. Samadarshanat means you have the same darshan as Mahaprabhu, as Krishna. Samadarshanat. In other words, you're merging, your interest is merging, just like Shri Show number 700. Remember the diversity, unity is in diversity. You may be on that level, Samadarshanat. And when you look, Prabhupada is giving, Kapil Dev is explaining, there's different, he explains all the way from the stone to the pure devotee. I don't know if you remember that section. He starts from the level of a stone, inert object. Then he goes all the way to someone who goes back, Samadarshanat. Then it's very interesting, 3 levels below the end, it describes a devotee who can inspire others in Krishna consciousness, but he himself is not on the topmost platform. He's somewhat well situated, but he's not on the topmost platform. But he has the Shakti to inspire others. It's a very interesting level. He has the Shakti to inspire others, but he himself is not as yet situated on the highest platform.
Where exactly, where is the reference for that?
It's very interesting in the third canto. Yeah, so let me search. If I search now, you make a search. Do you have database, Vignesh?
Yes, Prabhu.
So you type Samadarshanat, and what you do, you isolate the third canto, and you
Okay.
type Darshanat. It's gonna pop out.
Okay.
There's a whole list. It goes from inert objects to stone all the way to pure devotee.
Okay. Like I would just like sometimes we say, right, that unless we practice, what we actually teach, we cannot have the power to change the mind of others, right? For example, we say we have to be acharya. Oh, we have to
Yeah,
practice and then only preach. If we just preach without practicing ourselves, then our words will not carry that power
that's
to,
true.
to make
That's
others a
true.
devotee.
That's true. That's true.
But still, what I understand from is that the statement is that there's still a devotees who may not be that pure, but still they have some power, even if they may not be practicing it, in that high standard, but still they have that power
They
to
have
make
the
others.
power. They have the I would say the adhikar, because let's say they got touched by the mercy of Prabhupada. You can see very senior devotees. I don't want to mention names. They're still alive. There's one Prabhupada disciple. He told us straight. He was so honest. I mean, he was in Maya 20 years. He told us. He came back. But when he speaks, can you imagine? I remember he was in Vrindavan. Dhananjay was the MC, Prabhu. In Vrindavan, when comes the time of Jasa Puja of Srila Prabhupada, there's so many hundreds of devotees. Then that devotee spoke the last that day. Everyone is crying tears, first of all. Women, men, gurus, everyone. Because he was telling how he came back to Krishna consciousness. And it's vivid. He's such a big, powerful speaker. And then he used to say, Prabhupada used to come and haunt him in his dreams. Just like you are being haunted by a ghost. He used to say, Prabhupada would come and haunt me. And I won't mention his name. He would call him by his name in the dream. So, don't you forget what we did together? We did this. Prabhupada would come and haunt him. And he's in Maya. And he's trying to turn around. He cannot sleep. Prabhupada is haunting him. And then he came back. I mean, when he spoke that day, it was like... And then the next day, Dhananjay Prabhu, he called, okay, now we're going to carry on the recitation of the offerings. He calls the same devotee. So devotee said, but I gave my speech yesterday. So Dhananjay told him, you give another speech. That devotee just came back. So obviously he was not on the highest platform. But his sincerity and his realization was so deep because he just understood. After 20 years of Maya, he understood so much. And now he's coming back for the second time. So now you can see it's very much fixed up. He's loaded with Vigyan. So what you say is true, Vignesh. He had the sincerity of heart.
I know in some temple, like previous temple I was staying, is there, if the devotee is not following the rules and regulations, they're not into, they have some issue, they're not allowed to give class. Even they're so learned and everything. And sometimes if they happen to give class and the whole community will criticize, how can you let him give class? He has such and such defect, It's very hard,
Yeah, it's like Brahmanand Prabhu. I remember, he was not supposed to give class also in Vrindavan.
Yeah.
When they give class, everyone is on his knee. He's got so much nectar.
Yeah. I don't know what was Prabhupada mood if some devotee has some spiritual difficulty, like when you do Maya. Does it let him preach or something? What was his mood?
All I know is with Brahmanand Prabhu, Prabhupada said, even if you see him in a bar, you still offer your obeisances to him.
Yeah.
Because, of course, Brahmanand, he stands on his own category. He had done so much.
Service, yeah.
He's the first TP in ISKCON worldwide. He left now. He left. Prabhupada put him on a different caliber, different pedestal. They have done so much. It's beyond words. So, this is exactly what I was trying to tell you, Vignesh. If you look at this list, the third level from top down, it says that he is not a pure devotee. He's not on Samadarshanath as yet, but he can inspire so much. And it's true. I noticed that. So that is why we should be very careful, especially if he comes back, and should never pass judgment. Because they have imbibed the mood and mission of Prabhupada, they're Prabhupada men. And they can inspire you deep inside because they have so much Vigyan.
Yeah.
They have so much Vigyan. And of course, it's controversial. Some gurus, no way he can speak. But they won't even dare to speak to him because, he's so senior. No one can even dare to tell him something because he's so senior and so much loaded with Prabhupada consciousness, And he left the world in Vrindavan. So where do you think he went? He went back,
He has his own samadhi also there in Vrindavan.
Ayagriv, Brahmanand. Next will be Gargamuni,
Yeah. Ayagriv has his samadhi in New Vrindavan.
Yeah. These are very special souls. Huh? And they were not so straight, definitely. I mean, we cannot dilute. Oh, no, they were. No, in terms of sadhana, it was definitely, you wouldn't take him as a guru, but as a source of inspiration. Personally, I used to relish his association. So anyway, back to the lesson, and we started at what time was 3? Yeah, so we have another half an hour. Prabhupada is decrying the smartas. The smartas are, remember, there's 3 things that destroyed India: the smartas, the shaktas, and the mayavas. The smarta definitely. What is smarta? You understand, Goloka?
Yeah, smarta. They're just following rules and regulation, rituals,
Yeah, niyamagraha.
Yeah.
They destroyed India. They were trying to kill even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Purity. So next paragraph is purity. Although major prerequisite for other processes, purity is not a factor in determining our eligibility to perform bhakti. Even if a devotee falls down from the standard of purity, it need not to undergo different prayaschit. Prayaschit means to, how do you say, expiation? How do you say in English?
Atonement.
Atonement. That's the word. Prayaschit. You don't have to. What else do you have to do to atone? To carry on chanting Hare Krishna? And plus, you don't lose out. Neha Bikram Nashatusti. Yeah, you just carry on from wherever you left off. Vanashram Dharma, even Vanashram Dharma it's not even Bhakti Anga, Vanashram Dharma, actually. That was, in one sense, it was very interesting because Prabhupada, remember, he had this, Srila Prabhupada, sorry, he was entertaining this idea. I don't know if you remember, in his early life, he was kind of thinking, well, let me make money, then I can help my guru spreading his movement. Remember that portion of his life?
Yeah.
Let me make money, then I can help my guru bhais to open Gaudiya Math here and there.
Yeah. Prabhupada said he was forced by his spiritual master. He didn't want to take sannyas and all this stuff, but he was forced to take sannyas by his spiritual master. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati will come in his dream.
Yeah. And even some of his Guru Bhai also. Especially Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, who was his sannyas guru, who ended up giving him sannyas, actually. But what I'm trying to say, even Prabhupada was into that mood, just like it's mentioned here. First, let me concentrate on making money. So in one sense, my prescribed duties, I'm a pharmacist, I'm a sales representative selling pharmaceutical products, So it was kind of, let me make money through my prescribed duty, then I will help. But then you know the story. Yasya hammanugrinami harishet tadanam shane. He got depossessed. It didn't work out. He got depossessed in the late 40s, early 50s. The staff are stealing straight from the shelves, the pharmaceutical product. They're stealing from the tiller, the money, the cash. The wife is selling the biscuits, Bhagavatam against the biscuit, the tea biscuits, so everything falling apart, basically. So, it says here, even the thought of becoming first purified by Varnashram, then only I can take a good Krishna consciousness. Even that is not proper. I'm not saying.
I was just reading that the same thing, like Prabhupada said, where Krishna especially favor you, he take away everything from you.
Yeah, yes,
so that
that's the verse. Yes, Yahamalugrinami.
Yeah, I was just reading it last week.
Yeah, the verse is there in the 11th canto. What is it, Vignesh? It's quoted in the first chapter of the Gita. If you render pure devotional service, you don't have to. You become totally even with all your family members, the maids, the animals. Yeah. You know that verse? It's in 11th canto.
We get rid of the different kinds of debts that we have.
Yeah, all the debts, the debtors. Devarshi Bhutapta.
Forefathers.
Devarshi Bhutapta.
Yeah.
Nrinam Pitrinam, yeah. So it's like that, no, just like nothing should wait, actually. Nothing should wait. You can see that in book distribution because, I was still doing books yesterday and people are so far gone, It's you are just scratching your head. How can I engage them? Even if you give them the books free, they don't want the books. I tried yesterday. No, I don't want even free. I don't want the book. So it's like a child, the guys. No, I won't take the medicine. You have practically to tie up the hands of the child, tie the arms in his back. I mean, even free they won't take.
You're right. I have the same experience, Prabhu. Sometimes you go in this book distribution, give free books also. No, I'm not interested. I'm not interested.
So how far you have to bend yourself backwards. I mean, the only thing is you're just like the guitar. We're not a doer. Just do it. And at one point yesterday, I got a few pearls. Some people, oh yes, I know, I like this. Yes, I will buy one. It comes once in a blue moon, but just for that you have to carry on. And you take the details of that person and you follow that person. You have to go through tons of unwanted persons to find that person. It takes, just like you search for a drawer, it's full of nonsense in the drawer, and finally you find what you were looking for. But it takes 10 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour to search through the drawers. In the same way, that's my meditation when you do books. You have to search through the drawers. No, I don't care. Finally, you find the thing. Finally, you find the person.
I think that was the whole mission of Lord Chaitanya, because he said that we just have to do Harinam Sankirtan. Like sometimes we may not have enough Agya Sukruti that we even take a book and read it. But at least if we can hear the name of Lord, if devotees can do Harinam Sankirtan, at least not in this life, perhaps at least in the next life they may become favorable and take a book and at least read it.
Perhaps the cousin or the little brother of that person who bought the book, that's gonna click in him.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's decrying the smarta, this we know. Purity we discussed. Even purely Vanashram, we are discussing now. And then he's quoting that verse. Chagvasvadamam sharanam bujam hare bhajana bhagvat tat patatatu yadi yatrax vabhajam mabutamush yakin kuvarta apto bhajatam svadamataha. It's 1:5:17. Narad is telling, even if Chagvasvadamam sharanam bujam hare is going to give up his career for the sake of holding on to Krishna consciousness, he is embracing Krishna consciousness. What to speak if you a few years down the line, he drops from Krishna consciousness. So people will pass judgment. This guy is doomed. He has left his career, and now he has even left the purpose for which he left his career. You can see it externally. It's doomed. It's gloomy. He dropped out twice. He dropped out from material life. He dropped out from spiritual life. What would you say, Goloka, to that fellow?
Whatever he did in devotional service is not a loss. Whatever he did in material life may be a loss, but Krishna says, he start back again in the next life, wherever he stopped.
Exactly. There is no loss, my dear Vyasadeva. We're speaking to Vyasadeva 1:5:17. There is no loss. There is no misfortune for that person. So this is exactly what it is. My dear Udav, any person who takes shelter of me in complete surrender, follows my instruction, giving up all occupational duties, is first class. So you can see, even a Bhakta yesterday, there's so many new devotees in Umayapur. We're having voucher, it's called woofers. They come and do some service for free. They're not devotees. Oh, I saw your name of your community on the site. I was told I can eat and get a lodging for free against some service. Yes, I'll do it. They're not devotees. They don't even know where they are. And I noticed down the line, at least 15-20% become devotees. Yesterday they were chanting. And even, can you imagine a devotee like this, brand new guy, chanting, dancing, is better off than a full-fledged accomplished Jnana Yogi. That's beyond reason. That's beyond logic. Bhaktisiddhanta said, even if you chant Hare Krishna, it's better off to opening millions of hospitals. People will say you're crazy. What do you think, Vignesh?
Yeah, people normally have a lot of confidence in humanity and humanitarian things, but they don't realize the urgency and the importance of going back home, back to Godhead. So I think that is the reason we don't often weigh the things as it is.
Exactly. Yeah, so he's quoting 1:11:5:4, we discussed. Devarshi Bhutapta and Rinam, this we discussed. Bhakti is not dependent on Vanashram, again, this we know. Then, of course, 1866, give up all other dharmas. You have seen at the end of the Gita, Krishna is willing to relinquish his own words. Forget what I say. Just surrender. Because Arjuna is still perplexed, he's still pondering, what should I do? And out of love, Krishna supersedes that reflection of Arjuna and tell him, look, I cannot wait for you. So I'll give you express lane type of instruction. You surrender to me. Everything else you forget. We discuss Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. Just forget. Just surrender. And it's mentioned there by the Acharyas that out of love, Krishna did it. He could not even tolerate that Arjuna is still pondering. I cannot wait. Just do it. Finish. This is love. It's not only from the part of the devotee. Krishna loves Arjuna so much, he cannot wait. He cannot see him like this pondering again and again. Yeah, so anyway, we covered 2 chapters today. You know, it's quite, I mean, it's open door. We open open doors, basically.
Yeah, it's a lot of realization, lot of sharing experience, and
Yeah, because it's for us, it's, you know, it's not rocket science, especially those two chapters, chapter 4 and 5. Next one will be chapter 6. This is becoming interesting now. I mean, it's always interesting, but now we're going to touch into the 64 items of Bhakti Anga. The 64 Bhakti Anga, starting from 6. You will see, it's very interesting. And Rupa Goswami is going to break it down. And of course, the first 10 are totally fundamental. Acharya Prasanam, Shri Krishna Diksha Shikshanam, taking shelter of Guru, Vishwambhena Guru Seva, serving, Sato Vrite. And then there will be, then we'll discuss about Aparad. It's coming chapter 8. Aparad is definitely, as we know, against Radha, against Radharani. How can we advance if we do something against Radharani? This Aparad. So Nishida and Yam, or Nivriti, Praviti. Then chapter 9 again, we're carrying on into the 64. In all the details, flaws, you know, paricharya, submission. So it's gonna last a long time. Huh? Chapter 10, 11, 64 items are totally delineated here. Serving trees, tulasi. And finally, we're gonna come to the final 11 items.
Prabhu, we were talking about Bhakti earlier, and Tulsi Devi is named Bhakti Devi. So, so can you talk a little bit about?
Well, you are going ahead of time, but no problem. So as we know, Bhakti Devi is mother of Bhakti, just like mother, just like Ekadashi, yeah? Same level. And it's Tadiya. It's discussed in Padma Puran. Aladana Savesham, Vishnu Aladati Konta, Tasmat Paratanam Devi, Tadiyanam Samarshana. Even higher than serving Vishnu is serving Tadiya. Tadiya means the paraphernalia. You serve the devotees, you serve Bhakti, you serve Bhakti Devi Tulasi. It's higher than serving Vishnu. Again, it sounds like the 17th chapter. I don't know if you remember, Goloka. Tadartiyam. There's a verse at the end of the 17th chapter. You may remember, Vignesh. Tadartiyam. At the very end. Same story, Tadiya. You serve, yes, right here. What is it? Tadartiyam. Yes. 1727. Karma Shiva Tadartiyam. If you serve, Tadartiyam is like Tadiya. You serve everything that is used in the Krishna Seva. This is higher. Madbhakta Puja Vyadika. This is higher. Tulasi is higher than worshipping Krishna. What to speak of the benefits? I taught my boy, you know, I was telling him, why do you turn around like this? I was telling him, you know, Yani Kanisha Papani Brahmachari Kanisha Tani Tani Padakshanti Padari. I was telling him, even if you kill a Brahmin, can you imagine? He could not relate. Just by going around. I mean, you are from Mauritius, Goloka.
Yeah.
You know, you were gone perhaps at that time already. I was already gone also. There was one devotee, you know the story. You must have heard, perhaps 20 years ago. That devotee, I mean, what kind of nonsense he did? Brahmachari, he cut a woman in morsels. Can you imagine? I don't want to get into the details, brahmachari falling in love with a married lady. I mean, it was a major, major scandal. To make a long story short, he cut the girls in pieces and dumped her in a well. That morning, he was chanting to the CRT. Can you imagine? Before he got caught. And when he was, can you imagine? He had done it already. Then he volunteered to chant to the. He was chanting to the CRT, going around. Yani Kanisha Papani Brahmachari Kanisha. Of course, he got caught. Mauritius is such a small place. He got caught.
He died in the prison.
Yeah, he went to prison. He didn't stay long, actually. But
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say is that it's totally big Maya. I mean, it's beyond words even. But one way or the other, I don't know where he's at now. Do you know him, Goloka?
I'm away from Mauritius for a long time. So
Yeah, so you are out of it. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, I heard of it.
But I had left by then also myself. But
Him?
I was told that he's back to normal, you know. So this is the power of bhakti. I mean, definitely, he went to jail for a few years, no doubt. So this is the power of all these angas of bhakti. You know, Tulasi, you are just praying to her. She's the mother of bhakti. She can. It's so simple. Tulasi is so simple. You just worship her, go around her, offer doop, deep, water. Even my boy can do it. You know, as simple as that. This is the simplicity of bhakti lies in the worship of Tulasi. Even I've seen in India, it grows between the bricks on the wall. I've seen it. You know, you put your head outside the window, you see Tulasi is growing out of the wall. It's just, how much India is blessed, you know.
Back in Mauritius also, it grows everywhere.
You know.
Everywhere.
And
in between the rock, in between some small gravel, and everywhere.
You can see, of course, you know the story better than me, I guess. She was cursed. It's a whole lila. She was cursed, and then she came down and she married that devotee who also happened to come from Golok. He was also cursed. Then Vishnu, he took the place of that devotee. He became intimate with her. She cursed Vishnu, and then and then she cursed him to become a stone. So that's Shalagram, Shila, and Tulasi. You know, and that's how Advaitacharya brought the Lord down, Mahaprabhu, through worship of Tulasi on Shalagram Shila with Ganga Jal. So you know, it all falls into place. How much we are being helped. It's like so obvious, and still we are lazy and complacent. How much they have to bend themselves backwards. And just like we have to bend ourselves backwards to tell the people, please it's free of charge. No way. What do you have to do? So Krishna must be thinking the same. What do we have to do to get them out? You know what I'm saying? What else we have to do? Prabhupada used to say, you are like coal. He used to tell the disciples, you are like pieces of coal. C-O-A-L. Have you tried to wash coal? It's always black. Even if you scrub it, it's black by nature. So it's just sheer mercy, you know. We are still hanging in there by sheer mercy, if you ask me. It's not a matter of adhikar. We are thinking, well, you know, I chant Hare Krishna, I must have done, just like devotee is saying to Kapil. They have base in all the tirths. They have studied all the Vedas. Prabhupada said, I built up your Sukriti. I built up your deeds, your pious deeds. That's why you're here.
I think it's mentioned that two kinds of sadhakas that was One is sadhana siddha and one is kripa siddha. So one who becomes perfect by doing a proper sadhana, and one who gets a mercy of a devotee or Krishna. I think the kripa siddhas actually would be quite abundant, especially in this moment. I think because a lot of people, like have been receiving a special mercy. They may not be following at times proper rules and regulations, but still, if they are sincere, they may get a mercy of the devotee or acharya, and they can make that gap.
And sometimes when it's questionable, Krishna is giving you another birth. I've been telling my boy all the same point. I told him, why do you think you're born here? He understands. The boy understands. Why do you think you're born in my family? I'm just helping you. You're helping me. I'm going to live. Don't blow it again. I speak to him like this. You have been practicing. Already you're attracted. It's not sufficient. You're going to be tested. The 21st century is going to be hellish. Hellish. He's going to see the whole, his chart says he's going to see the whole century. He's going to see the whole century. So how much you have to be Krishna conscious to see the whole 21st century? What he's going to see, I don't know. So we have, it's not like so simple. Okay, we are stamped. We're going back in this life. We're going back, but in this life or not, that's up to Krishna, basically. Because instructions are there in the Gita. The verse. Yam yam vapis paramavam tyajatante karevaram. You may, most probably you may, but you may not. It's always to the discretion of Srila Prabhupada, your guru. We cannot take things for granted. I'm part of ISKCON, so it's bound to happen. The verse is there, 1637, is called the Liberty Purport. I told you many times this verse. Even if you follow everything rigidly, you may or may not be granted with the association of devotees. You may or may not going back to Krishna. You can never vouch, yes, it's a due to me. No. Listen to that. Talking about the movements of Narad. Narad is unimpeded in his movements. He can go spiritual world, material world. Even Golok, he goes to Narakund, he becomes Naradi Kundi, Naradi Gopi. So he goes, Srila Prabhupada says, similarly, the transcendental system of devotional service is also free. It may or may not develop in a particular person, even after he undergoes all the detailed formulas. Similarly, the association of devotees is also free. One may be fortunate to have it, or one may not have it, even after thousands of endeavors. Therefore, in all spheres of devotional service, freedom is the main pivot. Without freedom, there is no execution of devotional service. The freedom surrendered to the Lord doesn't mean that the devotee becomes dependent in every respect. See, it's beautiful. The freedom surrendered to the Lord doesn't mean that the devotee becomes dependent in every respect. To surrender unto the Lord through the transparent medium of the spiritual master is to attain complete freedom of life. So it's called the Liberty Purport. It's a very important purport. 1637. It's never acquired. You cannot never say, now it's okay. You are on the right path, no doubt. But it's still depending on the Lord. He has the last hand, the last word. You know what I'm saying, Vignesh?
Yeah.
We cannot vouch. It's always a grace. Even Thousands. I was gone for 4 years. I was alone on my own with my wife, and no devotee. I was there. And I just came back. It's a grace.
Yeah.
It's a grace. Where I was, there was no devotee. It's a grace. Just to be able to go to the temple. It's not due. It's a grace. Go to Vrindavan, live in Vrindavan. I was in Vrindavan 10 years, 12 years. Mayapur, Vrindavan. And I found myself here. No, I find myself here. So what happened? At one point, I lost the mercy. I cannot say, well, I'm in Vrindavan, so finish. One way or the other, something happened in your mind. Oh, and you find yourself in the West. And then you ponder, what happened to me? So you can see. And still you can be in Vrindavan and not be in Vrindavan. You can be on Podramaya, on the layer of Vrindavan. On the dam, there's a thin layer. It's called Podramaya. You can be on the layer of that. You're not in the dam. You're just... Anyway, we'll stop here. We covered 2 chapters by Krishna's grace. Yes?
C'est quoi Olympique?
Olympique.
Olympique.
Say hello.
Attends, c'est quoi Olympique?
Olympique means the Olympic Games.
C'est un pays?
Non, c'est pas un pays. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. He speak both English and French, your son?
I'm always speaking English to him.
Yeah.
To just...
Yeah, for him too.
I'm teaching him English, but I shun away from French. He's got a Paka French now. So his French is Paka. It's like totally ahead of everyone in French. But I put so much French that now I have to put English.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, but he's a lazy boy, When he goes to India, I told them the other day we went to India, and I said, now speak French. Go ahead. And he's like, oh, no one understands me. See, I told
Speak
him,
Hindi.
I told him French is not a very common language. It's like number 25 or something. Who's speaking French on earth? Very few. Central Africa, Mauritius.
Yeah, I think you should just speak in English with him.
That's what I do now. And he has a good accent because I teach him, but he's lazy. This is the problem with gifted children. Gifted but lazy. Hare Krishna. So
Hare
you can tell Chandra to get into the 64 items. I'll tell him anyway.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.